Sir, this passenger is seated in first class without proper authorization and is making other guests uncomfortable.
Sir, I need you to stand up for me, please. I'm in the seat printed on my ticket, seat 1C. It's legitimate. Sir, we need to verify that. Go ahead and stand.
Passengers like him usually board the wrong section.
Last chance, sir.
She does not ask to see his ticket. She looks at him, one long measuring second, and says, "Sir, economy is toward the back." That is the whole sentence. That is the whole assumption. 7 words, spoken in the practiced, pleasant tone of a woman who has made this call before and never once been wrong about it. Or so she believes. Malik Zion Everett stands at the entrance of the jet bridge for Flight 233, Houston to Baltimore. Boarding pass pulled up on his phone, I carry on already in his right hand. He does not move toward the back. He does not apologize. He does not raise his voice. He looks at her, this woman in the burgundy and gold airline uniform, scarf knotted perfectly at the collar, and he says quietly, "I have a first-class seat." If you're just joining us, welcome. Take a breath. This story is going to take you somewhere important. Stay with it all the way through, because what happens next changes everything. The gate area for Flight 233 smells like burned coffee and dry air. It is 6:44 in the morning. Most of Houston is still asleep, and the early bird travelers here, laptops out, lanyards dangling, cups of terrible terminal coffee in both hands, are doing that thing road warriors do when they want to observe something without admitting they're observing it. Eyes down, shoulders angled, ears wide open. They heard it. Every single one of them heard it. So the flight attendant, her name badge says Colleen, does not look at his phone, does not scan her tablet, does not check the boarding list in her left hand that she has been holding for the past 12 minutes. She smiles. The smile is professional, calibrated, the kind you build over 16 years of managing human beings at 30,000 feet. She says, "I'll need to verify that. Could you step aside?" Malik steps aside. The man behind him, middle-aged, polo shirt, he dragging a carry-on that is clearly too wide for any overhead bin on this aircraft, walks straight through. Colleen does not look at him, does not smile at him, does not ask to verify a single thing. He boards. 2 more passengers follow. A woman in a gray blazer, a man in a rumpled button-down. Both board without a word, without a pause, without Colleen's measuring eyes tracking their movement. Malik watches all 3 of them disappear into the jet bridge. Then he looks back at Colleen. She is on the gate phone now. She has not looked at his boarding pass. She has not scanned his ticket. She has not opened her tablet, or cross-referenced the seat manifest, or done a single thing that would constitute verification of any kind. She is calling someone, while Malik stands to the side, while the line behind him grows, while the morning stretches out around them like a held breath. A teenage boy near gate C11 has repositioned his phone. The camera faces outward now. A woman in a yellow blazer catches Malik's eye and immediately looks at the floor. Nobody says anything. Nobody does anything. And that silence, that particular, collective, seat-shifting silence, is the most damning sound in this entire terminal. She still has not looked at his ticket. So, what exactly is she verifying? The man Colleen called is named Derek Hutchins. He is the gate supervisor, 31 years old. 4 years into a career, he still cannot fully explain to his parents at Thanksgiving. He arrives at the jet bridge entrance in under 2 minutes, tablet under his arm, expression already set to the particular look of someone who has been pulled into something they did not start. "What's the situation?" Derek asks. His voice is low, professional. Colleen glances once at Malik. Quick, like a measurement. "Gentleman says he has a first-class seat," she says. "I just want to make sure we're all squared away before we push." Derek turns to Malik. "Can I see your boarding pass, sir?" Malik shows him. The app is still open. Seat 1C, Flight 233, Houston to Baltimore. First class. Confirmed. Derek looks at the screen. He looks at his tablet. He looks at the screen again. "Seat 1C, Derek says. "That's first class, yeah?" Colleen nods slowly. And the way someone nods when they already knew the answer but needed to hear it said out loud so they can decide what to do with it. "I just want to make sure there wasn't a system error," she says. "There was no error," Malik says. His voice is even. No edge, no heat, just a man correcting a statement of fact. Colleen turns to him. The smile comes back, smaller this time, tighter. Passengers like you usually... She pauses. Half a second, maybe less. But it is the most loaded half-second in this entire morning, because every person within earshot knows exactly what she was about to say, and the fact that she stopped does not make those words disappear. It makes them louder. Passengers who have recently upgraded sometimes aren't aware that the boarding process differs slightly, she finishes. I didn't recently upgrade, Malik says. I booked this seat 3 weeks ago. Of course, the smile holds. I'm simply being thorough. But Derek has already been thorough. He confirmed the seat. Colleen is standing in front of the jet bridge anyway, and Malik has been standing to the side of the boarding line for 11 minutes, while ticketed passengers stream past him into the aircraft without a single question asked. This is not thoroughness. The line behind Malik has grown to 12 people now. Someone at the back lets out a slow, deliberate sigh. A man in a brown bomber jacket has stopped scrolling his phone and is watching the exchange with the focused stillness of a person deciding whether to speak. Near gate C11, a woman named Desiree Okafor has put down her book. She is a retired middle school principal from Silver Spring, Maryland, and she has spent 31 years reading rooms. She reads this one in about 4 seconds. She pulls out her phone. Colleen does not notice Desiree. She is looking at Malik with the expression of a woman who is entirely certain she is the reasonable party in this situation. It is the expression of someone who has never once considered that the pattern of decisions she makes might form a shape that other people can see even when she cannot. I have a comfort concern, Colleen says. She is speaking to Derek now. Derek blinks. A comfort concern? From a first-class passenger. I need to address it before boarding continues. Malik looks at her. What passenger? I'm not at liberty to share that information. What is the concern? Sir, I haven't been on the aircraft. I've been standing in this corridor. He says it calmly, precisely, like reading a timeline into a recorder. Whatever comfort concern exists in that cabin cannot involve me. I have not been in it. Colleen does not answer. Derek looks at his tablet, then at Colleen, then at Malik, and he does not say anything, but his jaw does something, a small, involuntary shift, that suggests he is aware, on some level, that he is standing in the middle of something that is going to have a tail. Colleen picks up the gate phone again. She is not protecting the cabin. She is building a case, and the only evidence she has is the color of his skin. Here is what Colleen Darrow does not know about the man standing 12 feet away from her in a charcoal blazer and blue shirt. She does not know that Malik Zion Everett graduated top of his class from Howard University School of Law in 2009 and walked away from 3 firm offers, 2 in New York, 1 in D.C., because a different kind of call had already come in. She does not know that he spent 2 years at Quantico as an instructor, not a trainee, and teaching advanced behavioral analysis to agents who resented being taught by a 30-year-old who looked the way he looked until they sat in his classroom and realized they had never once been in the room with someone who thought the way he thought. She does not know about the counterterrorism unit he has run out of the Washington field office for the past 6 years. She does not know about the 17 commendations in his personnel file. She does not know about the 4-state chemical materials case that his team closed in 11 days without a single press release, or the 2 classified case files that will not see public light until 2041. She does not know any of this. All she knows is what she sees. A black man in a good blazer who she has decided, in the space of 45 seconds, does not belong in seat 1C. Malik knows exactly what she does not know. He also knows something else. So his FBI credentials are in the interior left pocket of his blazer. They have been there for 11 years, worn close against the lining, so the badge does not print through the fabric. He knows to the quarter second how long it takes him to retrieve them. He has done it in conditions far more stressful than a Houston airport corridor at 6:45 in the morning. His right hand moves, just slightly. A reflex. 11 years of muscle memory reaching for the exit. Then it stops. He pulls the hand back. He folds it at his side. Because he is thinking about something that has nothing to do with Colleen Darrow. He is thinking about the next man, the one who comes after him through this same gate, on a different morning, with a first-class ticket earned through miles saved over months. That man will be black. That man will be tired. That man will not have a badge in his left breast pocket. When Colleen steps in front of him and says 7 words, and the crowd goes quiet, and the phones come out, that man will have no exit. If Malik shows his credentials right now, the situation ends. For him, today. But what that act would confirm, quietly, completely, is that Colleen's logic is sound. That questioning a black man's seat makes sense. That the only thing wrong with what just happened is that she picked the wrong target. And then the next time she does this to someone who cannot reach into a blazer pocket and make the room realign, she will do it with the full confidence of a woman who learned that she was simply unlucky last time. He has spent 11 years working inside systems that run on precedent. He understands that the most dangerous thing you can do to a broken machine is adjust it so it runs smoother. So he stands still, both hands at his sides, face composed. Not blank. Blank would be its own kind of statement. Composed, present, awake. He is aware of 4 phones recording now. He does not position himself for them. He does not acknowledge them. He simply exists in the frame honestly, the way he was trained to exist in any environment where everything is being documented whether you know it or not. He is aware of Desiree Okafor, who has moved 6 feet closer to the gate entrance and is holding her phone in the particular way that says, "This is not a casual recording." He is aware of the man in the brown bomber jacket, late 40s, watchful eyes, the still posture of someone deciding whether the situation needs their voice. He is aware of Derek, who has returned his attention to his tablet with the focused energy of a man trying very hard to be somewhere else. He is aware, underneath all of this, out of the quiet and persistent fact of his body, the slight elevation of his pulse, the careful, deliberate way he is managing his breathing, not because he is afraid of Colleen Darrow, but because he is afraid of the geometry that has formed around him. Officers on the way, crowd watching, his body at the center of an equation he did not write and cannot simply exit by being right. He grew up in Baltimore's Druid Hill neighborhood, second of 3 kids. His mother, Evelyn, was a school librarian who kept a yellow legal pad on the kitchen table for writing down things worth remembering. His father, Roderick, drove the number 12 bus route for 22 years and never once arrived late. They were people who understood that being excellent was not optional, and being composed in the face of being treated as less than excellent was the price of the world they lived in. His mother used to say, "The first response is never the right one. Give it a moment. Let it settle. See what you're actually working with before you reach for what's in your hand." He has applied this in federal interrogation rooms, in classified briefings, in midnight stairwells where the wrong word could collapse months of work. He applies it now in a Houston airport corridor, while a flight attendant builds a case out of thin air and his right hand stays exactly where he told it to stay. She is back on the gate phone. She is speaking to someone he cannot hear. Her expression has changed. Barely, almost nothing, but it has changed. The smile is still there. The certainty has thinned slightly at the edges. Good, Malik thinks. Let it thin. At the end of the terminal corridor, the door opens. 2 Houston airport police officers step through. He almost showed them who he was. But the man he was protecting didn't have a badge, and that mattered more. His mother's name is Evelyn Lorraine Everett. She is 67 years old, and she does not own a smartphone. She writes letters by hand on yellow legal pads, and she quotes Langston Hughes the way other people quote the weather, casually, accurately, as a natural response to whatever the moment requires. She has never once in Malik's life gone to bed angry at a single living person. Not because nothing has ever made her angry, but because she decided, sometime in her late 30s, that anger kept overnight becomes something slower and harder to name. 3 weeks ago, and she had surgery at Baltimore General, a procedure on her right hip. Routine, the doctors said. Routine, the word that the medical profession deploys like a mild sedative, as if the frequency of a thing makes it feel ordinary to the person lying on the table. The surgery went exactly as planned. The recovery has been slower than anyone projected. Malik has called every day since, sometimes twice. The second calls happen from stairwells, or from the small storage corridor adjacent to the parking structure at the Washington field office, where he is reasonably certain no one walks between 10 and 11 in the morning. He does not explain these calls to colleagues. He simply makes them. His mother tells him she is fine. Her voice sounds fine. See, but in 11 years of behavioral analysis, of learning to read the space between what people say and what their bodies and voices and silences are actually communicating, Malik has become fluent in a language most people never learn to hear. The pauses in his mother's sentences have grown half a beat longer. Not much, barely enough to name. But he names them every time. He booked flight 233 2 weeks ago. He used miles he had been building for 3 years. When he saw that miles could put him in first class, direct, no connection, early enough to arrive before noon, he did not think twice. He wanted the legroom. He wanted to arrive without the compressed, folded feeling that a middle seat produces in a man who is 6'1". He wanted to walk off a plane and go directly to his mother's house and sit in her kitchen and be her son for 2 days without his phone constantly pulling him back to Washington. And he was supposed to make this visit 6 weeks ago. A work situation came up, the kind that does not announce itself with warning and does not negotiate with personal calendars. He was on a call until 2 a.m. and on a flight to Phoenix before sunrise. He called his mother from the Phoenix airport at 4:45 in the morning to explain. She said, "I know, baby. I know how your work is." He said, "I'll be there next month, Mom. First flight out." She said, "I know you will." Then the pause. Half a beat. And he has been hearing that pause for 6 weeks. It followed him into briefing rooms, into court appearances, into the 4-hour drive back from Quantico on a Thursday night when the radio was off and the highway was dark and he had nothing but his own thoughts for company. That pause. Half a beat. His mother not saying the thing she was thinking because she had decided 30 years ago that she was not going to be the weight on her son's back. He is thinking about this now. About her. Ton about that pause. About the eggs she said she was planning to make the morning he arrived. When his phone vibrates in his jacket pocket. He reaches for it slowly. Deliberately. The way a man reaches for his phone when 2 police officers have just entered his field of vision, and he is aware that every movement he makes is being observed and recorded and processed by people who arrived with a set of assumptions already in place. He looks at the screen. Baltimore General Hospital. He automated patient update. Evelyn L. Everett. Morning vitals check. All values within normal range. He reads it twice. Then he exhales. 1 second. Exactly 1. He allows himself that much and nothing more. He puts his phone away. He straightens his jacket. He returns his attention to the corridor. To the 2 officers who are now 15 feet away and closing. To Colleen, who is watching him with the focused calm of a woman who believes she has the room. Who to the crowd of 20-something people who have not moved, who are watching this play out with the uncomfortable stillness of witnesses who have not yet decided what witnessing requires of them. He came to this airport to see his mother after surgery. He came because she had a pause in her voice that she would never once mention to him, because that is exactly who she is, and exactly why he is here. And now 2 officers are walking toward him, summoned by a woman who has not yet looked at his ticket. He stands completely still. He thinks about the eggs, the yellow legal pad on the kitchen table, the way Baltimore light comes through the sink window on a clear morning. He breathes. He is not afraid of the officers. He is afraid of arriving too late to sit across the table from his mother while she's still making breakfast. The older officer's badge reads Wrongful. He is in his mid-40s, broad across the shoulders, who is with the unhurried walk of a man who has responded to 1,000 calls and learned long ago that speed rarely improves outcomes. The younger officer, Calloway, early to mid-20s, fresh crease in his uniform, stays half a step behind, which says everything about who is running this approach. Renfro looks at Colleen first, then at Malik, then at Colleen again. Malik clocks the sequence, files it. "What's the situation?" Renfro asks. He is directing this at Colleen, see, which is a choice disguised as a routine question. "I have a passenger claiming a first-class seat," Colleen says. "I have an unresolved comfort concern from inside the cabin, and I cannot clear this passenger to board until that concern is addressed." "The ticket has been verified," Derek says. He says it louder than necessary, which means he has been waiting to say it again, and he wants the officers to hear it with both ears. "Twice. Seat 1C, Flight 233. It's valid. Renfro looks at Derek, and then at Malik. Can I see your ID and boarding pass, sir? Malik produces both. Driver's license, government-issued, District of Columbia. Boarding pass, still live on his phone. Seat 1C confirmed. Renfro takes the license, looks at it, types something into his handheld, waits, looks at the result, hands the license back. Everything looks clean, Renfro says. Colleen takes a breath, a small, precise breath that is not about oxygen. The comfort concern is still unresolved, she says. The Renfro turns to her. Who filed the concern? An anonymous passenger in the first-class cabin. What was the nature of the concern? A pause, brief, but full. Intimidation, she says. The word lands in the corridor the way certain words do. Not loudly, but heavily, like something dropped from a height rather than thrown. Malik looks at Colleen. He does not flinch. He does not argue. He simply looks at her with the direct, level gaze of a man who has spent a career in rooms where words are chosen for their utility, and who has just watched someone choose a very specific word and aim it like a tool. I have not been on that aircraft, Malik says. He speaks slowly, each word clean and separate, the way you speak when you know the words are going somewhere beyond this conversation. I have been in this corridor for 22 minutes. I have not approached another passenger. I have not raised my voice. And I have not moved from this position since I was asked to step aside. Whatever complaint was filed from inside that cabin was filed about a man who has not been inside that cabin. That is not a comfort concern. That is a fabrication. Nobody speaks. Desiree Okafor steps forward. Not far. 2 feet. Enough. That's the truth, she says. I've been standing here the whole time. He hasn't moved. The man in the brown bomber jacket, his name is Terrence Webb. He, a cargo logistics manager from Memphis traveling on business, takes one step to stand beside Desiree. He doesn't say anything yet. He doesn't need to. His presence is the statement. A woman near the back of the line says, loud enough to carry, "Just let him board. He has a ticket. This is ridiculous." Renfro holds up a hand toward the crowd. Not aggressive. Measured. The gesture of a man trying to keep the situation from expanding while he works it from the inside. He looks at Colleen. And he looks at Malik. His jaw does something. That same involuntary shift that Derek's jaw did 20 minutes earlier. The shift of a person doing math they do not like the answer to. Colleen does not look at the crowd. She looks at Renfro. I need this passenger removed from the boarding area pending resolution of the concern, she says. Her voice has not changed. It is still smooth, still professional. It's still the voice of a woman who is entirely convinced she is the reasonable party standing in front of an unreasonable situation. Renfro is quiet for 3 full seconds. Then he says, "Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to come with us." Terrence Webb says, "Come on, man." Desiree says, quietly, "Lord." Malik does not look at the crowd. He looks at Renfro. He looks at Calloway. He looks at Colleen one time, one long measuring second, and then he picks up his carry-on. He walks. See, not because he has been beaten, not because he is afraid, because he has made a decision about how this ends, and it does not end here. The pilot has been notified. 4 phones are recording, and Malik Everett is walking off a plane he has every legal right to board, carrying something in his jacket pocket that is about to change everything. They have no idea what they just started. Before we continue, put yourself in that corridor for 1 second. You just watched a man with a valid first-class ticket get pulled aside, questioned, verified twice, cleared twice, and then escorted away from the gate anyway. Everyone in that line saw it. Some of them recorded it. One woman stepped forward. One man stood beside her. And here is the question worth sitting with. If Malik had not been FBI, if he had just been a regular man with a regular job who saved miles for months to sit in seat 1C and get to his mother before her afternoon rest, what happens to him in that alcove? Drop your answer below. And stay with the story, because what he pulls out of that jacket pocket in the next chapter is not what Colleen Darrow, Officer Renfro, or anyone in that terminal is prepared for. Officer Renfro says, "Sir, but I'm going to need you to come with us." And just like that, the corridor becomes a different kind of place. Nobody moves. Nobody speaks. 31 people who were strangers 90 seconds ago are now a collective, connected by the shared experience of watching something happen that each of them will describe differently to different people for the rest of their lives, but that all of them know, in the same part of their chest, was wrong. Malik picks up his carry-on, and he does not look at the crowd. He does not perform steadiness for the cameras. He is steady because he has trained steadiness into his body the way other people train marathons, through repetition in conditions far worse than this, until it lives in the muscle and not just the mind. He walks with Renfro and Calloway toward the service alcove near gate C14. It is not a room. It is an indentation in the terminal wall, and 3 feet of partial privacy that creates the suggestion of an official space without the legal weight of one. Malik knows the difference. He has worked in both. What exactly is the complaint? Malik asks. His voice is conversational, not combative. The tone of a man who genuinely wants to understand the facts of a situation he has been placed inside. Renfro says, "But the flight attendant has indicated she received a comfort concern from a passenger in the first-class cabin regarding your presence." My presence in a cabin I've never entered. Renfro does not answer that directly. He looks at his handheld. He looks at Malik. Something is working behind his eyes. Not sympathy, not judgment, just a man running calculations in real time. Calloway is standing slightly off to the left. He is young, and the young ones sometimes fill silence with action when they should be filling it with patience. He says, "Sir, can you tell us where you're headed today?" "Baltimore," Malik says, "to see my mother. She's recovering from surgery." Calloway writes this down. Writing it down is not required. Writing it down means he wanted to do something with his hands. Here is the thing about fear that most people do not understand. It does not always arrive as panic. Sometimes it arrives as a slow, spreading cold, the kind that starts in the middle of the chest and works outward, not because the danger is immediate, but because the architecture of the situation is familiar, because the body remembers what the mind is still processing. Malik has been in hostile environments. He has been in situations where the physical danger was real, documented, and measurable. He has walked through those environments with his hands loose and his breathing controlled, and his mind doing its work. But this is different. This is the particular fear that comes not from a threat you can name, but from a system working exactly the way it was built to work. A system in which a black man with a valid ticket gets questioned, cleared, questioned again, and then escorted away from a plane he legally purchased a seat on, while the woman who set all of this in motion stands at the jet bridge entrance, wearing the practiced calm of someone who has done this before and never once faced a consequence. What he breathes. Slow. In through the nose. Out through the mouth. 4 counts each direction. The technique his Quantico instructor called tactical calm, and that his mother would have simply called keeping yourself together. Back at the gate, Desiree Okafor has not sat down. She is standing with her phone in her hand and her novel face down on the seat beside her. She is watching the alcove. She is building a timeline in her head. Timestamps, sequence of events, exact words spoken, with the methodical attention of a woman who spent 31 years watching situations carefully because nobody else was going to watch them for her. Terrence Webb has moved to stand beside her. He has not said anything else. He does not need to. His presence is the argument. The teenage boy, his name is Jalen Osei, Desiree's grandson, 17 years old, and currently very much not scrolling his phone, has been recording for 14 consecutive minutes. And his battery is at 61%. He is rationing nothing. Back in the alcove, Renfro says, "Sir, the attendant is requesting that you be removed from the boarding area pending investigation of the concern." Investigation of a comfort concern filed about a passenger who was never in the cabin, Malik says. "Sir? How long does this investigation take?" Renfro's jaw shifts. "I'm not sure. My flight board's in 8 minutes. Malik looks at him. Steady. Direct. My mother's afternoon rest begins at 1 o'clock. I have a carry-on bag and a valid ticket, and I have been in this terminal for 31 minutes without raising my voice, without approaching another passenger, and without doing a single thing that would constitute a comfort concern for anyone in any cabin anywhere on any aircraft in this airport. The alcove is quiet. Renfro looks at Calloway. Calloway is studying his notepad like it contains information he did not put there. Kurt Renfro says, "Do you have any additional identification on your person, sir? You've seen my driver's license. Any other form of ID?" Malik looks at him for a long moment. The look is not hostile. It is the look of a man who has just made a final decision about something he has been deciding for the last 37 minutes. His hand moves to the interior left pocket of his blazer. The officers are asking for more ID. They have no idea they are about to get it. But the boarding announcement for Flight 233 comes over the intercom at 7:03 a.m. Final call. All passengers. Flight 233, Houston to Baltimore. Now boarding at Gate C-14. Malik hears it from the alcove. It lands in his chest like a slow punch. Not devastating, just precise. The kind of thing that hurts because of what it means, and not because of how hard it hits. He is 41 feet from that gate. He has counted the distance the same way he counts everything. Automatically, without thinking about it, because 11 years in this work rewires the way you move through physical space. 41 feet. The flight boards in minutes. And he is standing in a service alcove between two police officers, while a woman at the jet bridge entrance watches with the expression of someone waiting for a process she's set in motion to complete itself. From the gate area, Desiree Okafor watches the alcove. Her grandson Jalen is still recording. Yet Terrence Webb has his arms folded across his chest, his jaw set in that particular way that says a man has run out of polite patience but has not yet decided what comes after it. A woman in a green tracksuit near gate C-13. A stranger. Someone who came to catch a different flight entirely and stayed because she couldn't make herself leave. Has her phone out now, too. She doesn't know these people. She doesn't know Malik's name. See, she is recording because she is a human being who recognizes the shape of an injustice even when she does not have the language to name every part of it. Calloway says, "Sir, I have to ask you, is there anything in that bag that we should know about?" Malik looks at him. "No." "Any weapons? Restricted items?" "No." The word is flat. Final. "I am a United States citizen traveling commercially to visit my mother. My bag contains clothing, a phone charger, 2 files I was going to review on the flight, and a granola bar." Calloway writes this down. Malik watches him write it and feels something he almost never allows himself to feel in professional contexts. A wave of pure, clean exhaustion. Not the kind that comes from long hours or hard work. The kind that comes from having to explain your right to exist in a space you already paid to occupy. And the kind that accumulates over a lifetime in small deposits until one morning in a Houston airport, it surfaces all at once, and you have to decide in real time whether to let it show. He does not let it show. Renfro says, "The flight attendant has made a formal request for your removal from this boarding area, sir. If we cannot resolve this before the flight pushes, you will be rebooked on the next available departure." "The next direct flight to Baltimore departs at 2:15, Malik says. Renfro blinks. "I don't know the schedule." "I do." Malik says it without emphasis. It is not a flex. It is just a fact delivered by a man who researched his route the way he researches everything. 2:15, which means I arrive at 4:40. My mother's afternoon rest ends at 3. I will miss it by an hour and 40 minutes. Nobody in the alcove speaks. The intercom sounds again. Final boarding call. Flight 233. Outside at the gate, Desiree's voice carries clearly across the terminal. "This is not right. Everybody standing here knows this is not right." Terrence. "Let that man board his flight." A second woman from the gate line, name unknown, voice firm. "We're all witnesses. Every one of us." The sounds from the gate reach the alcove. Renfro hears them. Calloway hears them. Malik hears them, and something in his chest performs a small, private recalibration. Not relief, not comfort, just the quiet recognition that he is not invisible in this moment, that people are watching, that this morning is being recorded not just on phones, but in memory. He looks at Renfro. One final, level look. Then he reaches into his blazer, all the way into the interior left pocket. His fingers close around leather. He has been deciding since Chapter 1 whether to show them. He has made his decision, and nothing in this terminal is ready for what happens next. And he does not open it toward the crowd. That is the first thing to understand about what happens next. He does not make a production of it. He does not step out of the alcove and hold it up under the fluorescent lights of the terminal so that every recording phone can catch the angle. He does not announce it. He does not let his voice change or his posture shift or his expression do anything other than what it has been doing for the past 43 minutes. Then he opens the badge case and holds it at chest height, angled toward Officer Renfro, close enough that reading it is unavoidable, and far enough that it is not a gesture of aggression. It is simply a presentation of fact. Renfro reads it. His face does not fall apart. He is not that kind of man, and this is not that kind of moment. But there is a reorganization, fast, specific, and the kind that happens in the muscles around the eyes and jaw when the brain receives information that requires everything it thought it knew about a situation to be revised in under 2 seconds. Calloway leans slightly forward. He reads it. The color leaves his face. Not dramatically. Just a degree of warmth, withdrawing. He says very quietly, almost to himself, "Oh no." Malik closes the badge case, returns it to his jacket pocket, smooths the lapel with 2 fingers. At the same 2-finger motion he has performed 10,000 times in 11 years. Then he looks at Renfro and waits. Renfro straightens. When he speaks, the "sir" at the front of his sentence weighs 3 times what it weighed at the beginning of this conversation. "Sir, I apologize for... I'm not here in any official capacity," Malik says. His voice is calm, precise. "I am a private citizen, traveling commercially to visit his mother. That is all I am today. That is all I've been this entire morning." Renfro nods. He nods the way people nod when words have left them, but agreement has not. "You can contact my field office to verify if you need to. I'd prefer you didn't, because I'd prefer this morning not become something larger than it needs to be right now. But that is your decision." "No, sir," Renfro says. "That won't be necessary." Calloway says nothing. And he is looking at the middle distance with the focused attention of a young man who will be thinking about this morning for a long time. "Am I free to go?" Malik asks. "Yes, sir. Absolutely." Malik nods once. He picks up his carry-on. He walks out of the alcove and back toward the gate, and every person in the terminal who has been watching this for the past 43 minutes watches the walk. He stops in front of Colleen Darrow. She is still at the jet bridge entrance, and the measured smile is gone. In its place is something that has no professional name, a kind of exposure, like a wall that has been standing so long it has forgotten it is load-bearing, and something just removed a beam. Malik looks at her. He does not speak for 3 full seconds. He lets the silence carry exactly what it needs to carry. Then he says, quietly, "I'd like to board, please." Colleen steps to the side. He does not go into the jet bridge immediately. He turns back toward the gate area, toward Desiree Okafor, who has her hand pressed flat to her chest, toward Terrence Webb, who gives one slow nod, toward Jalen, 17 years old, who has finally lowered his phone. Malik holds Jalen's gaze for exactly 1 second. Then he nods. The nod is small. It says, "I see you." It says, "Thank you." It says, "This mattered." Then he turns back to the jet bridge. He stops at the desk. He speaks to Derek for 12 seconds. He shows his boarding pass. And he makes one request. He boards economy. Not because he lost. Not because he is ashamed. He boards economy because seat 1C, right now, would feel like a trophy. And this morning was never about a trophy. It was about something quieter, harder to hold, and far more important. He finds a middle seat near row 27. He puts his carry-on under the seat in front of him. He pulls the granola bar from the front pocket. He opens it. The plane doors close. Somewhere over Tennessee, and the clouds break apart, and the landscape below opens up, fields and highways, and the thin silver lines of rivers catching morning light. Malik looks out the window for a long time. Then, behind his closed eyes, he cries. Quietly. Completely. The way a man cries when he has held everything together for 47 minutes and there is finally nothing left in the room that requires him to. Dignity is not the absence of pain. It is the decision to remain yourself while the pain is happening. But he filed the complaint 14 days later. Not in anger. Anger was not what drove him to sit at the desk in his home office in Washington on a Tuesday evening and open a blank document. What drove him was precision, the same quality that had kept his hands still in a Houston airport corridor and his voice even in a service alcove while 2 officers stood on either side of him. The complaint was 4 pages, single-spaced, and it contained timestamps he had recorded in real time on his phone. 6:44 a.m., first interaction. 6:47, ticket verified by gate supervisor Derek Hutchins. 6:52, security officer Hendricks called. 6:59, Houston airport police officers Renfro and Calloway arrived. 7:03, final boarding call. 7:06, removed to service alcove. 7:11, credentials presented. 7:14, cleared. 30 minutes. From first interaction to clearance. 30 minutes to process a black man with a valid first-class ticket on a direct flight to Baltimore. He sent the complaint to 3 places: Transatlantic Airlines Customer Relations Division, the United States Department of Transportation's Aviation Consumer Protection Office, and his personal attorney Renata Blakely Sims, who practiced civil rights law in Washington, D.C., and had a reputation in federal circles for being the kind of attorney you did not want on the opposing side of anything. He did not call the press. He did not post to social media. He did not reach out to Desiree Okafor or Terrence Webb or Jalen, all 3 of whom he knew existed, and all 3 of whom had already been reached by people he had not contacted. He waited. Oh, what he did not know, what he could not have known from the outside, was that his complaint would reach the desk of a Transatlantic Airlines internal investigator named Sandra Chow, 42 years old, who had been watching a specific pattern of behavior involving premium cabin removals for 14 months and had been waiting with the disciplined patience of someone who understands that a case without documentation is an argument without proof, or for a complaint with enough detail to carry weight. Sandra had 16 prior complaints involving flight attendant Colleen Darrow. Not 16 complaints about a difficult personality. 16 complaints following an identical architecture. Black passenger in first or business class. Comfort concern raised before or during boarding. Security called. Passenger removed, rerouted, or rebooked. Written documentation from Colleen's side, either absent or constructed in the vaguest possible language. Out of the 16, 10 involved male passengers. 8 involved passengers traveling on miles-based awards or upgrades. 3 had been escalated inside the company. All 3 had been resolved with travel vouchers and confidentiality language. None had been reported to the Department of Transportation. None had resulted in a review of Colleen Darrow's conduct, her personnel file, or the decisions of the supervisors who had repeatedly accepted her comfort concern filings without question. One complaint had been filed by a retired federal judge from Atlanta who had spent 2 hours and 40 minutes in an airport holding room in New Orleans on a connecting flight. He had not sued. He had written a letter. The letter had been received, acknowledged with a form response, and filed. Sandra Cho had found that letter 11 months ago. She had printed it and placed it in a physical folder she kept in the bottom drawer of her desk. The folder was labeled simply, Pattern. When Malik's complaint arrived, time-stamped, sequenced, corroborated by 2 video recordings that Jalen Osei and the woman in the green tracksuit had submitted in response to a public call from the Department of Transportation, Sandra opened the folder. She added his 4 pages to it. She looked at the total weight of what she had been building. Then she made a phone call to her supervisor that lasted 11 minutes. The formal investigation opened 9 days after Malik's complaint was filed. And it took 8 weeks. Derek Hutchins provided a full written account that corroborated every timestamp in Malik's complaint. Officer Renfro declined to provide a statement, but did not obstruct the investigation. Calloway provided a written account that was factual, detailed, and, according to Renata Blakely Sims, the most honest document submitted by anyone in a law enforcement capacity throughout the entire review. Desiree Okafor provided a 7-page written account. Her attorney later described it as the most precise eyewitness testimony he had encountered in 33 years of practice. Colleen Darrow was placed on administrative leave on a Wednesday afternoon. She was notified by her supervisor in a conference room at Transatlantic's Houston hub. She did not say anything when she was told. She folded her hands on the table and looked at the wall. The investigation's final report was 67 pages, and it used the phrase systematic pattern of racially discriminatory passenger management 6 times. It identified 11 passengers who had experienced substantially similar treatment. It named 3 supervisors who had accepted Colleen's comfort concern filings without question over a period of 4 years. Transatlantic's legal team contacted Renata Blakely Sims 48 hours after the report was finalized. They offered a number. They offered a confidentiality agreement. But they offered mediation. They offered language, calling the incident an isolated misunderstanding. Renata called Malik and read him the offer over the phone. There was a pause on the line. Then Malik said, "Tell them no." "What do you want instead?" Renata asked. He told her. He didn't want money to make this disappear. He wanted it to make something appear, something that would still exist long after the settlement check cleared. And the settlement was finalized on a Tuesday morning in November, 4 months and 19 days after Flight 233. $6.7 million. Malik was sitting at his mother's kitchen table when Renata called. Evelyn was making eggs at the stove, humming something low. The kind of humming that means a person is paying careful attention to something that has nothing to do with what their hands are doing. Yet the November light came through the window above the sink at that particular Baltimore angle that turns everything it touches a soft, clean gold. He said, "It's done." Evelyn turned from the stove. She looked at him across the kitchen. She did not say anything for 4 full seconds. So she looked at her son. This man she raised on a school librarian's salary and 31 years of yellow legal pads and a belief that restraint was armor. And she looked at him the way a woman looks at something she built with her own hands. Then she turned back to the eggs. "Good," she said. The settlement included 5 demands that Malik had given Renata word for word. And that Transatlantic Airlines had agreed to in full after 48 hours of negotiations. A formal public acknowledgement of the discriminatory conduct at Gate C-14 on Flight 233, published on Transatlantic's website and distributed to all domestic customer-facing staff within 30 days. A mandatory bias recognition and procedural intervention training program for every customer-facing airline employee, developed by independent civil rights consultants and completed within 18 months. And the creation of a Passenger Equity Review Board, a standing, independent body with authority to investigate complaints, access personnel files, and publish quarterly public findings. No airline executive would sit on it. No airline attorney would advise it. A 10-year commitment to external audit of premium cabin complaint filings across all transatlantic routes. The 5th demand was the one the airline's legal team had initially pushed back on hardest, and the one Malik had made clear was not negotiable under any circumstances: the Evelyn Everett Aviation Scholarship. 12 fully funded scholarships annually for minority aviation cadets, administered in partnership with 3 historically black colleges and universities, for a minimum of 15 years. Colleen Darrow was terminated. Malik never returned to Transatlantic Airlines, not as a passenger, not as anything. He attends the first scholarship cohort ceremony in the spring. He went Howard University, in a room full of young people who are going somewhere. His mother is in the front row in a blue dress she bought for the occasion. When they read her name aloud on the scholarship plaque, she presses one hand to her chest and closes her eyes for 3 seconds. She does not wipe her face until the applause has finished. After the ceremony, a scholarship recipient named Marcus Tipton, 19 years old, from East Baltimore, who accepted into his first commercial aviation training program, finds Malik in the reception line. "Mr. Everett," Marcus says, "can I ask you something?" "Sure." "How did you stay calm that whole time? How?" Malik looks at him, at this 19-year-old standing in a room named for his mother, at the gold afternoon light coming through the tall windows, at his mother in her blue dress across the room talking to someone he doesn't recognize, laughing at something the person said. I was thinking about you," Malik says. "Not you specifically, but the next person. The one who comes after me with a valid ticket and no badge in their pocket." Marcus is quiet for a moment. "Did it work?" he asks. Malik looks at him. 1 full second. "You're here," he says. Some victories are not announced. They are built, one decision at a time, in corridors where no one is watching. until everyone is. Justice delayed does not mean justice denied. It means justice documented. When documentation outlasts everything,